Hi, this is the review of the order trading system activity for July the 30th, 2021. We had 4 trades on that day, 3 were buys, 1 was a short sell. First trade was DARE. That's Dare Biosciences Incorporated, tripped 11:45:13 a.m. at a price of 158. It was a buy. Closed day at 154, up 1.32%. Closed below tripping, so let's see if there's any opportunity. 11:45, 11:45. So around here. So look, 162, 166, 161, 160. 62, 160, 158. So we've got almost an hour here where it was up and actually up a good amount above the tripping price considering its price range. But you can see it just steadily dropped a little bit after that. Not extensive. You can see just from the price that it basically maintained. It just happened to really catch it on a jump or a peak operation. Check to see if the indicators are okay. OBB pretty much mimicking a price activity. Came up, then dropped a little bit. MACD came up. The other thing is MACD, it came down, but it stabilized. You see it just moved side, which is good. It would be nice to see it bouncing back and forth because MACD is somewhat more positive when you see more spiking activity, but in general it's okay because at least it's not dropping all the time. Just came down after that spike, but that's what we see in the price range, so nothing different there. DI a little differently though. Hey, look, DI came up that spike, fairly strong spike, but came down and then started moving negative, which technically is monitoring or mimicking the price range because it was moving in a negative or a downward direction. Yeah, and be honest with you, actually, it stayed more negative. Like the afternoon, it was practically all negative. So that's interesting because DI is showing a very negative afternoon to some extent, and for the most part, the whole day based on the activity itself. DI wise, majority of it was negative. So very interesting. And Bollinger Band again. Bollinger Band just basically is a representation of price activity or price movement. Came up and then just came down and steadily moved down. But again, as I stated originally, it didn't come down below its opening and it stayed above its previous close. And while it did jump up, this negative activity was just basically recovering from that spike, but it technically was still up above its tripping price. So technically it was conceptually positive, even though technically it was negative just because of its movement. Next trade is FTNT. That's Fortinet Incorporated. At least that's the way I think it's spelled or pronounced. That's 11:52:21 a.m. is its price. Trade time. Tripped to 268.04. It was a buy. Closed at 272.24 and actually was down 0.72%. So that stock actually was down from previous close. But as we can see, it closed above its tripping price, which is good. Okay, OBB. Well, OBB not too bad. Look, OBB just showing that it had a movement, and then the afternoon was fairly positive volume-wise. MACD is okay, came up, came down a little bit, moved sideways, so MACD is not too bad. DI came up multiple times. You can see it came up here during its tripping period and came up again, and the afternoon is pretty much even with negative and positive direction. And while technically negative was going up, positive was moving sideways to some extent. And you can see Bollinger Band, it basically came up and just steadily increased after its drop, obviously, and then the end of the day, you can see a little bit of drop, but nothing extensive. This stock definitely was moving positive. Next trade is BTU. That's Peabody Energy Corporation, tripped at 12:10 p.m. at a price of 12.06. It was a buy. Closed the day at 1171, down 0.34%. Oh, well, this is going to be an interesting one. 1210, so it tripped around here. Yeah, and then came down. Yeah, never came up above. So that stock has no positive activity for it. So let's see if the indicators. Volume, see, not the volume for not showing drastic movement, so it just tripped, just happened to be because it was technically moving in somewhat of a positive direction during the tripping price. But at the end of the day, you see it coming down. MACD, same thing, came up during its tripping period, came down, moved a little bit positive, and you see it just trailing downwards at the end of the day. DI also, then down, and Bollinger Band, you see it came up, but then moved sideways, then down. I don't feel comfortable saying that this is a possible, just because the fact is the indicators are not showing strongly, and to some extent, it's really indicating sideways movement for the most part, and nothing drastically or nothing absolute positive. I'm going to say it's not impossible, just because of the fact that it's just not enough there for me to feel comfortable saying that it's a possible. Next trade is AZN. That's AstraZeneca PLC. Tripped at 3:50 p.m. at a price of 57.26. It was a short sell. Closed the day at 57.24. It technically is down below its stripping price, so that's a positive. Not drastically below, but it's still a couple of cents below. And as you can see here, it actually dropped. Yeah, 57.13. So you can see though it made a recovery here in the late afternoon. So that's probably what the indicators are going to show. Obviously, is that positive jump in the afternoon. But okay, but OVV though is showing somewhat negative in this spike here in the afternoon, but it technically is showing negative. MACD is actually showing a little bit different. The little drops here, but you can see the afternoon somewhat MACD is showing a steadily upward climb, which is more positive for MACD. At the end of the day though, you can see that drop. DI, yeah, it's a little bit more negative than positive, so a little bit more negative direction on that. And you see the end of the days where it had that big drop. And Bollinger Band basically is not showing anything drastic. It's showing pretty much from morning till mid-afternoon a bit of a downward decline, and that little bit jump in the afternoon, but then turning around, moving downwards again. So the stock was moving negative, and not consistent, obviously, in the indicators wise. So anyways, that's 3 out of 4 stocks. So that's 75%. And because there's no possible, it's only or no possibility, it's only 75% possible. So a fairly decent day for the fact that actually the markets were down yesterday, and we actually had a good number of positive activity for that day. So that's good. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.